Welcome to First and 10 with Rams football coach Joe Prud'homme. I'm Jimmy the St. Christopher. Rams went up to Conway, Arkansas on Saturday to play NCAA D1. That's an FCS school, I should say. And they got blown out, 63-3. Coach, you've been talking about how good the Big Bad Bears were. They were big and bad and pretty good. Were you surprised by the length of the score, the magnitude of that score?
A little bit. But, you know, we had about 3 or 4 defensive breakdowns in the secondary, and that's 4 easy touchdowns for them. But to frame the thing for you, they beat a team that beat Florida State. You drop the mic and walk away from that. I mean, and we're playing these guys, and they were outstanding. They were a classy group. I was surprised by the margin, but when you hit some one-play drives, and that's what happens at any level of football.
What did you learn from the loss, you as a coach and for the team?
I would think just being a little bit more sound in some basic areas. You know, the pass coverage needs to be better. I thought the offensive line held up pretty well. It's just you're playing against a group that's really, really good, very well coached. Our special teams actually were better than theirs. I was really pleased with that, and you know, I walked away knowing that, you know, we're really, really strong in that area. Got some things to fix on the back end of the defense. Offense just has to be able to, you know, have success against a team that was really good. That's what it boiled down to.
Now, do you look at the film of that, or you just kind of think, well, okay, we played and we got beat by 60 points? Or do you look at that film to find out what you can from playing a team of that magnitude?
Yeah, you watch the film, you go over the film, you don't put as much into it as you would, you know, like a conference opponent, just because when you're playing a team that has 63 scholarships versus a team that has 16, you already know that you've got some really stacked odds. But you just go ahead and learn from it what you can learn from it, and teach your team and your individual position groups, and you move on, because the game that really matters is this coming Saturday. So that's the reason. That's the reason for that type of approach.
And we talked a couple of weeks ago about your young quarterbacks. You have 4 of them now, and Dalton Dale has been starting, and Carson Rogers, he got the start the other day, and then Dalton came in and played. How much did this help or hinder their confidence for the future?
Oh, I would think it would help their confidence tremendously. I mean, he goes out on the big stage, gets a start against a Division I opponent, and the interception was, you know, a little bit his fault, you know, kind of his fault. It was the right throw to make. He just needed to put it about 6 inches more away from the guy. But when you're playing an athlete of that magnitude, he basically just took the ball away from our receiver. Other than that, I thought Carson played with a lot of poise. Just did a great job. I mean, that's a huge stage to step on. And I mean, it was a big house. It was on ESPN Plus, and the band was rolling, and it was a great atmosphere for football. So you take away the positives. Our kids got to play on a big stage. They, you know, a lot of them want to always say, well, I should have been D1. After that game, there are some of our guys that are. And afterwards, there's some guys who think they are that aren't quite there. So I think it's a great learning experience all the way around.
And on the other side of the ball, I suppose it does the same thing for the defenders as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our front 7 held up pretty well overall. I mean, we held up pretty well on the front side, but it's a learning experience. Some young guys got to play, and it's just something you put in as far as experience, and you can't simulate that or anywhere else. You can't go out and say, well, now we're going to play this big team, and without actually doing it and stepping out there. And you know, my hat's off to that whole organization. That's some of the classiest people I've been around in a long time. You know, Coach Brown and Coach Collum and those guys out there. Their training staff was unbelievably good, and everything was just on point and first class.
You mentioned the Rams special teams, Daniel Trejo, almost a 50-point average punting, 49.3. So that's got to help the young kid.
Well, not only that, did you see where he put the ball?
Yes.
I mean, it was 7 of 8 inside the 20, and I think it was 5 inside the 5, and 3 inside the 2. You don't see punters do that. The coverage was really, really good, but the punts were really, really good. And the thing about it is, Hans Laufer came in and was our deep snapper. That was his first time he'd ever played in a college football game. Our other deep snapper, Jacob Dodgen, had hurt his ankle on Thursday. He was running down to cover and just took a wrong cut and twisted his ankle, and may or may not have him back this week. But Hans stepped in on a huge stage and really only had one snap that was iffy. The rest were right where they needed to be. So, I mean, my hat's off to him and Dan and all those guys. They did a great job.
You know, on the stats for kicking and, you know, stats and analytics for everything now, they have I-20, which is inside the 20. So they got to develop a new stat now for drill. I-5, I-3, I-2
Yes,
for inside the 5.
for him, yeah, no doubt. I've never seen a punting performance that good. I just haven't. And the guys that were running the chains on our sideline, they do most of their games, and they said, Coach, we've been in a lot of games. That's the best punter we've seen all year. So that's quite a compliment to him. But you know, you hate that you're punting that much, obviously, but it's comforting to know that he can put them in a bad spot and win the field position battle.
And you mentioned Hans Laffer. He's a quarterback, isn't he?
Yes, that's correct. He's a quarterback.
How many quarterbacks do you have?
Oh,
I
God.
counted 4 last time, so this makes, forgot about Hans, that makes 5 now.
If you're talking about our entire, team of quarterbacks, we're in double digits. We got like 11 or 12 guys that are quarterbacks. So a lot of them play on what we call the attack team and do a great job. Some of them will probably move on to other positions because there's a lot of great athletes in that group. But yeah, that's a big room. That's a real big room.
And we've reached the last game of the season. It's a conference game after the non-conference game against Central Arkansas. The Rams will trip on up again to Arkansas, this time to Batesville, which is just west, I believe, of Jonesboro. So you'll be going back there. Did you have any bus problems this last trip?
No, on the travel front, everything was real smooth. I mean, buses were there, got there, did our thing, hit a little traffic, got caught behind an accident. Outside of that, the travel was really good. It was smooth, and all the arrangements were great. And Central Arkansas had set us up with some hotels, so everything clicked off well in that area.
And you're facing the Lyon Scots then on Saturday. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff. We won't be doing the game. Brendan Snow and Jeremy Knorr out of Atlanta producing, but it'll be on ramsports.net if you care to. I think they'll have play-by-play audio, but at least have the stats and some video of the game that you can watch on Saturday at 2 p.m. Scots are 2-7, 2-6 in the SAC. They just squeaked by Louisiana College. So how do you see those Lyon Scots?
They are dramatically improving every week. They're one of the teams in the conference that, as I see it, are getting better every week. And the last 2-3 weeks, they've made dramatic jumps up in their play. They've made some personnel changes on offense that's really helped them. It's really got them, a lot more dynamic, a lot more efficient as well. The defense is a very aggressive, penetrating defense. They beat Louisiana College, who beat Langston. So Langston beat us. So we're in a crazy time in the conference where anybody can beat anybody for the most part. They barely got by Texas College, and Texas College kicking really hurt them in that game. So they could have lost to that team and go beat one of the leading team in the conference at that time. So who knows? I mean, it's just it's a crazy time. And like I said, though, they're dramatically improving. They're very well coached. They're sound in all areas. They've had some close games they didn't win. I've been in that position recently, and so I totally get it. But man, the improvement they're having it's remarkable. It really is.
Now, if you win, you'll be 7-3. And I was reading where there's still a chance for a playoff bid. How slim, or what are the odds that you might be playing an extra postseason game?
Well, everything's got to fall right. I mean, first of all, OPSU has to go out and upset Ottawa. I think that's a monumental task. No shade at all towards OPSU. That's just a tough place to play. When you go out to Arizona and you're put into a different time zone and they have you playing at 9 o'clock at night, your body's not used to that. So they're going to have an uphill battle. Ottawa is going to be revved up. Their offense is outstanding. The defense is, really good. Their special teams are explosive. So that has to happen first. That's box number one. It's got to get checked. We go take care of Lyon. If we can win that game, boom, that's checked too. Then we're in a tie for the conference championship. Now, if Arizona Christian wins as well and Langston wins as well, you got a 4-way tie. So, now we're going to have to get to coins and everything else to figure this thing out. So I think it's really cool that we're talking about it. We're in the last game of the season and going from where we were to where we are now, that we're actually in the running for still to be able to play. That's great. If we'd have taken care of some things early on, we'd be in a really strong position right now. But, that's part of the process of a program growing and getting to that level is you have to take some steps. You don't get to go 0 to 50, or 0 to 100, nothing flat. You got to take those steps.
When would you know? When would the coin flips happen and all that post-game stuff? Does that happen like Sunday night, Saturday night, Monday?
Probably, I would think Sunday at some point. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at the, the conference commissioners level and the AD's level, and it's above my pay grade. My job is to go up to Arkansas, get our team ready to play and win a game, and we do that, then we'll be all right. We got to put ourselves in position. We won't know anything about the Ottawa game until that night, late, So it'll be 9 o'clock our time kickoff. So midnight 1, we'll know what it is. So that's kind of how that's going to work out.
And with the W on Saturday, you'll be 7-3, which is a 70% winning percentage, which you said is, compared to the first season and the second season and even the third season when you had 3 wins and last year's truncated season. So with a win, the Rams would finish 7-3, and then 7-2 of that would be in the SAC because the only non-conference game was last week against Central Arkansas. Basically, what are your thoughts, Coach, on this, your 5th season?
I'm really happy with where we are. Of course, I would love to have won the 2 games that we lost, but we wasn't like we went and got blown out by any stretch. And so I feel good about where we are. I feel like our foundation's really, really solid. I think those guys that have been in the program moving forward have really helped to move the program quite a bit. I feel like our coaching staff is in a really good place. I really love our staff and what they're able to do, the way they work together, how complementary our team is with each other. We've grown by leaps and bounds this year, and to say that I didn't expect it would not quite be honest. I did expect us to be much better, much improved. I felt like we would have been last year, but we had, of course, COVID, and nobody can do anything about that in 2020. But I feel like that we've made some, leaps. We've got a foundation in place. Our kids are bought in, and we're just going to keep getting better and better. And so, if once facilities come in, that's going to even be another jump up to what we were able to accomplish and to do, because day-to-day activity for us is really tough anyway. Like this morning, we get bumped from Clarkfield on Thursday because they're having a playoff game early at 5:30. So I said, all right, we're going to go to Hanley. Got bumped from there because they got a Hollywood movie script thing going on, and so they're shooting the seniors. So last stop is Farrington, so I had to get an agreement with them that they weren't going to add a playoff game on top of us while we're trying to practice. So that's a lot of moving parts for anybody. But for a team that's 6-3 at this point, I think it's quite a compliment to them and our coaching staff that, these kids got to pick up all their stuff. They got to leave from that locker, go to the next locker room. We got to pack everything up, move to the next spot. It makes it tough, but also it creates some resiliency as well. That our kids don't get flustered, our coaches pretty much don't get flustered with it. We're able to, ride adversity, but that's part of that growth process you're talking about. That's a long way to answer your question, but it's every step just keeps taking us to a better place. So that's the way I look at it, and that's how we're doing right now.
At least you'll be familiar with Farrington.
I'm familiar with a lot of different stadiums. I'm familiar with a lot of different fields as I get bumped and moved, and next thing you know, we're over here, over there, and but no, it's just part of our process at this point.
He's an in-city for his own team traveling coach, and speaking of which, the recruiting process, which never ends. Does it ever end for a coach? I know a couple weeks ago he had recruiting day at Farrington before the game, and I counted maybe 36 kids out there in the end zone before the game that you paid tribute to. And so when does that begin? Does it begin Saturday night right after kickoff? You're going in after you talk to the team after the win, hopefully the win, and does it start then, or when do you actually start recruiting for next year?
We have been. We've been recruiting since summer. Or actually since last year. It's a never-ending cycle. You're always recruiting. I would say it's at different rates and different speeds of the recruiting season of the way you recruit. I would say that we've been recruiting, we've been looking, we've been talking to kids, recruits, etc. But come this weekend, it ramps up big time. But also we have to close all the doors and all the, take care of all of our business with this particular season. And that should happen by the middle of next week. Start the recruiting process heavy then. We'll go to a lot of high school games, a lot of playoff games, go to a lot of practices, get to see a lot of kids. a lot of coaches. And that's a critical part is getting the coaches' feedback of what really is going on. Kid can look beautiful on film. They can say all the right things, but if they have that coach's stamp of approval, it's so much stronger than if the coach, as soon as you see a little, I'm not quite sure, and a little hesitancy, you got to dig in big time on it. And that's where the evaluation process is so critical.
And a couple weeks ago, or the last home game, which was almost 2 weeks ago, it was senior day, and there was like 17 seniors that were introduced, but only 7 you'll really be losing, because a lot of those guys can come back. Although they were seniors, they were redshirted as juniors, so they have another year, correct?
Yeah, they do have another year, but a lot of them are going to go ahead and graduate on time, and I don't blame anybody for that. It's completely up to them, and we gave them the option of, if they had another season and they wanted to come back, we kept the door open for that. But also we respect the fact that if they want to go ahead and graduate and not stretch it out, fully understand. I mean, these kids are incurring debt. They're having to pay bills. A lot of them want to get on with their lives. Some of them have families already, a few of them. So, we're going to fully support whatever it is they want to do. But, yeah, we've got some guys that are going to stay back. We've got some guys that are going to move on. And, man, I just completely appreciate everything those seniors have done for the program. And they've been through the hard part. They've been through the really hard part. And it was great they got to go out on a note that we are going to have a winning season, which I think is great. We need to move it to 7-3 and finish in at least second, maybe, knock on wood, a tie for a championship. And that's quite a leap. But they had a big hand in that.
Yeah, and some of those guys, a lot of those guys that will be leaving, you should be really proud, which I know you are. I mean, I'll miss just calling their games if they're not going to be here next year. But what areas do you think need to be recruited most?
I would say defensive line, for sure. Secondary, some. A few linebackers. Offensive line for depth and to develop that next group. Some tight ends. That's in a sprinkling of kids everywhere, across all of it. But, those are areas of, I would say, of need or of focus just because of the graduation that's going to hit. And, kind of just continue to build in places where you can. Anytime you can upgrade somewhere, you're going to take that opportunity to upgrade. So it's our job to out-recruit whoever we have and do what we can in that area. So, but the areas of need are really D-line, some more offensive linemen, maybe a linebacker or two, and some secondary.
Good luck in the recruiting process.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good luck Saturday up in Batesville, Arkansas, when the Rams will face the Lyon Scots. 2 p.m. kickoff. You can catch these stats, and I don't know if they'll have audio, probably have video too, but that's on ramsports.net. 2 p.m. this Saturday. It's the finale. Rams can finish 7-3 overall and 7-2 in the SAC, and then hopefully they'll get a at-large bid, and that'll bring down the curtain on the regular season on Saturday. For Coach Joe Prud'homme, for Kenneth Flowers, our producer, for Athletic Director Ricky Dotson, and SID Ryan Keating, Jimmy the St. Christopher saying, so long, see you next time on 1st and 10.